appropriate step for their next step on that. Before I go off this slide, I just did want to show you just the continuity that you'll see with the philosophical approach is with the SCSD as well as the IB mission statement match and connect well together. That frankly actually was one of the first things our Mark and the team did, is the expectation was to look at your existing mission statement and the International Baccalaureate program. Are those complementary of each other? And certainly they were, and that continued at the middle school and we continued along the way. So they really work hand in glove. The next piece are some of the core areas, and one of those is the development of the learner profile, which is on the wall behind me, up above, where it speaks to what are the profiles we're looking for a student as they graduate or promote from a school, be it reflective, thinkers, risk takers, those things. So those are the soft skills, as we were just talking a little bit earlier today about. Those are the pieces that we want to ensure that our students understand, achieve, have opportunity to find success in, so they can find success when they do depart the high school. The next area are in the skill development. That's specifically to students' approaches to their learning, those specific skills. You'll hear things such as just their overall social emotional wellness skills, research skills, communicative skills, how to also work in teams. And so those are those skills that they have to have there, again, caught in K through 12. And then again, a piece about approaches to teaching where it's really student-centered and students drive the learning. It's inquiry-based. You'll see I'll jump down to the end there, but some of the core components would include at the middle school right now, in this very library last spring, we did our first pilot of students on their community project at the middle school level, and we looked at all 8th grade children here, roughly the 200, doing that here. I think, Jen, you're going to go through the entire building. It's not going to fit in here, you think you said, right? So, yeah. And that's a chance for community to come in and see really what our students know and are able to do at that point in time. It will carry itself ultimately up to the 10th grade at the high school, and that is basically identified as their personal project. And then what we'll be looking at is the PYP takes root and looking at exploring that. There's an expedition of students learning what they experienced through 5th grade, and then if we choose to possibly look at the career program, that is a reflective project where students are often involved in internships and such like that. So that should hopefully provide a good backdrop to where I'll just bring to the one page, and we'll kick it over to the elementary team. And so if we think about the 21st century knowledge and skills, again, those aspirations, those are elements and themes that came across from the community that's both about real world experiences, other things such as personalizing and aligning learning experience K through 12 and learning through community-based experiences. Below there is kind of how we're going to do that. And I just try to walk a little bit through that with that narrative. We're going to use the approach about, success for all within the International Baccalaureate program. And so that's where, again, if we get to 2030 here roughly and saying, okay, we'll have experience a 5th grade project. We'll be looking at things like expanding our opportunities for academic support and enrichment, the International Baccalaureate Career Program, receive accreditation for the middle school or the Medios program at the high school, and then receive accreditation for PYP. And so those are some examples that will set hopefully the structural framework from the centralized kind of perspective. And then now we're going to go ahead and just walk and see how this kind of comes to operationalize itself out into the buildings at the elementary school and things like that. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to the elementary school. And Chris, I think we'll go ahead and start with the Primrose, if you don't mind, success plan there. And then we'll just I know elementary teams are maybe going to kind of bounce back and forth, but we'll do our best with that. So thank you, Chris. I'll kick it off to you, Jen, if that's all right. Thanks. I'm sorry, Jen. Any questions about the background on that? Did that hopefully provide a frame for the rest of the document? No.
I think that's good.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
So, first of all, I'm really excited to be here tonight and present the incredible work that our faculty and staff engage in every single day, but especially today on October Professional Learning Day. It was really a great way to spend the day with our teams, examining our success plans and delving deeper into some of the items that we're going to highlight tonight. And we also thank our families, especially at the elementary level, for rearranging their schedules because the children were not in school today. But it was really incredible, worthwhile work that really feeds the team, and ultimately the students feel the benefit day in and day out. So for most people who have looked at our success plans in the past, you're going to see a lot of commonality between Primrose and SIS, really incredible work all the way from K to 12, and you won't be surprised to see that some of the work is continuing from years past, such as the work around the science of reading. It's something that we have been engaging with staff over the last few years. We're looking at our high-quality instruction that happens day in and day out at the elementary level. Our Board of Ed trustees were kind enough to pay us a visit last year, and you might recall seeing in some of the classrooms that you walked around, you saw that high-quality instruction that's really aligned with the science of reading. The direct instruction of phonics through Foundations, phonemic awareness through Hegarty. You saw small groups of students being engaged with their teachers and with their teaching assistants with vocabulary development, comprehension work. You saw shared reading and interactive read-alouds where teachers were stretching children, and you saw the conversations happening between and amongst students too, where they were really striving in their work right in line with the science of reading. And we're continuing that great work with our teams and on professional learning days with some consultants who have come to a district to help our teachers grow in their practice. So what are we also talking about? We're talking about the multi-tiered system of supports to support our students. MTSS is what we call it for short, in the what I need period or the WIN period. And you'll hear the WIN period going throughout the schools. What that is an extra time for students to engage with staff members in small groups, to work on some of the things that might have given them a little bit of trouble. There's some reteaching in small groups that goes on, some reassessing to see how did the students do after this repeated exposure, this personalization of learning. And then also there are some students for whom this curriculum came quite naturally. So how are we stretching those learners and making sure that they are achieving at their level too, that they're engaged with high quality content that's rigorous and meets their needs and brings them to the next level. So you'll hear that this is a recurring theme at SIS, that these structures and supports and the assessments that we are giving to ensure that students are learning are going on throughout K to 5.
So even on our professional learning day today, one of the programs that is continuing from Primrose into SIS and then also to the middle school is the use of IXL, and we had some professional learning again on that today. Professional learning on that really helped us to dive in so we could see the targets and what our students need, so we can use that tool to help us during our WIN period, as one example, to differentiate, to support students who have challenges, and we've targeted those areas, and as well as to enrich the students who have mastered those facts or areas and need to go on. Also, when you look at the success plans, Meg's talked a lot about the science of reading, and that's something also at SIS that we are working very hard on. We're working with the same consultants, looking at the phonics, the phonemic awareness, the decoding, the background knowledge and building that in students, as well as the acquisition of vocabulary and the use of language, which are so important in the science of reading to really push our kids along that reading continuum. And as we've talked about, we've also at both schools started to explore the International Baccalaureate Primary Years program. And as we've done this work, we're really seeing so many natural connections between the Primary Years program and the science of reading. The frameworks of the Primary Years program and the International Baccalaureate, with those cross-curricular connections, real-world problem solving, really will support our students' language and vocabulary development and building background knowledge as they move across the continuum, which will in turn support our literacy practices that we're building in the schools. You went to visit last year to Primrose, and SIS is looking forward to having you next week. And what you're really going to see is a continuation of the programs at Primrose. In third grade, you will see Foundations. You will see some PAF work and some multi-sensory reading approaches that are helping our students who need a little help and support in those areas that we've identified. You will see guided reading groups and vocabulary acquisition lessons. So very similar to Primrose will be what you see in the classrooms at SIS, which really will help to build that continuity as we've been talking about, which is so important. And this year at SIS, we've also added in the DIBELS as an assessment measure. DIBELS was done K2 at Primrose. We had not done it in the past. So now by adding this, and which was part of our professional learning day today, was really delving into those reports, really provides that continuity. We will have STAR data, we will have IXL data, and we will have DIBELS data that goes across K-8 and into the middle school. So really building that continuity of programs as they build from one building to the next is what we've been working on.
Can you remind me what IXL stands for?
Oh, yes.
Or what?
It's a program on a
It's a program.
Program on a,
It's a
that's another
program.
assessment. I'm
It's-
familiar with
It's
this.
more than an assessment, actually.
Okay.
It provides data points on students, but as they take the assessments, it then presents items that are personalized to that child as well. And so like you can get recommendations based on how you did, things that overlap with. We've been exploring it with mathematics. It overlaps with our Tier 1 instruction in mathematics so that the children can get like mileage with that practice of a certain skill on IXL as well as the things that they do paper and pencil. So it's a nice complement, but it's more than just an assessment tool, but it does give great data.
It gives us data that can target a specific needs of a child, but it also can have skills assigned by a teacher that go along with our everyday math program or with some of our reading programs, so that there are skills that the kids can get that extra help or a little bit of enrichment by working through the program. So it's not only an assessment tool, it's actually a tool to help us target instruction.
Okay, so that's how it's differentiated also from like the STAR.
Right.
Yes.
And I think you'd see that at this level, we probably would not be here today if we didn't have to use technology in this way as of March 13th, 2020, when we shut down. And so it's one of those pieces that the team kept and said, actually, this is good for our kiddos. And then the district was able to go ahead and get one-to-one devices all the way down to kindergarten and stuff. So it is one of those pieces that was a positive that we kept.
And the other piece too is that we've been using it for mathematics for the last couple of years, but there is also an ELA component that we're starting to delve more deeply into, seeing like how else can we use this as a complement to what we're doing in the classroom, provide that extra practice for students, and then also that personalization that we can get through technology sometimes. But it's not the end-all be-all of anything that we're doing, it's a complement.
You read my mind, so I was just going to bring that up because that was, I think they're using IXL already in the middle school, correct, for ELA as well as math?
Yeah, I was going to ask, so how many grades right now we're doing, or is everyone exploring that 1 through 5 as far as
K.
K through 5,
Yes.
IXL for reading now?
K-8.
Okay, K8, nice, for reading and math.
Yeah, we just started to explore
Just
reading.
started
Just
exploring
started.
reading, yeah, so are you doing that in a certain grade or like?
So members have stepped forward last year towards the end of the year that they were looking to pilot, and we're hoping to expand that to see like what are the benefits for our students as they grow in their love of literacy and their skill of literacy too.
Great.
Thank you.
How does the win with the Primrose, how does that work with it or not? I understand the older years, but how do you get the small groups with the younger years?
So it's a bit of a dance by our professionals that they're really quite becoming quite adept at. So there are definitely staff members who deliver services push in, and majority of them pull out. So some students may pull out, whether it's for occupational therapy, physical therapy, academic intervention services, the AIS services, both in reading and math. So they will pull small groups of students from the classroom, leaving a smaller ratio of students for an instructor to work with. And by instructor, I mean it could be a teacher. It could also be a teaching assistant. Our paraprofessionals at Primrose really are a huge piece of being able to deliver MTSS to our youngest learners. So some of our students are just 4 right now. So having the extra set of hands, and a skilled extra set of hands at that, who know the children and know the curriculum and know what their teacher is doing and where the curriculum is heading, they are also a huge piece of it. A lot of planning too on the teacher's part. It takes a lot of planning to juggle all those plates.
And the science of reading, I guess, has just been the adoption throughout the teachers, I guess, in the classroom?
Yeah, so
Any
last
initial
year-
feedback on that?
So last year, K&1 started with Heggerty, which is our phonemic awareness program, and we were seeing great growth in that. So a lot of the pieces that visiting members of the board saw was that students are doing the part of reading that you can do in the dark, is the manipulation of sound, isolating the first part of the word, the end part of the word, looking for the rhyme. And they do a lot of movements, a lot of locomotor movements too. So it's a lot of fun and the children enjoy it. It's challenging. And we saw great results in K&1, and so the expansion into 2, it just seemed natural. So you'll see that on the success plan, that we're expanding Heggerty, which goes right along with the phonemic awareness piece of the science of reading.
And Meg, did you say earlier you had a little bit of time today with the consultant for IXL? Was that today?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So Emery was available to our staff. He did a smaller segment in time, but for the entire staff, about IXL, talking to them about what they already know about IXL math, and then what they can learn from the reading portion, and where the opportunities exist for us. So, and then like anything, when you're using it, you start to discover different elements of it, and you want somebody to bounce it off of, somebody who really knows the program as well as the system of support, the MTSS, and how you can use these things and leverage them to show growth in children. So that was great to have him today. He led us through a data protocol talking about, where we've been in the past with the tools and with MTSS, where we are presently, and where we would like to go next. And then having the grade levels share that out was also valuable, because there was a lot of great thinking, some great summer work that was sponsored by the Learning Office that staff could then hear, oh, you did that in kindergarten. How is that working? The advent of certain visuals to help the younger children access, what can be stimulating on a screen. So a lot of that great talking and buzz amongst faculty and staff was really had today. And then we had time to debrief with him at the end of the day, too.
And it was a very similar experience. He did the same protocols at SIS, and he really got into, with the teachers at SIS, how to use the tool and some new aspects of it to really target that instruction for students, and how to make it so the students can take ownership of that, tracking their own data, being responsible for their own goals. And that was a big part of what we worked on with Emery and the staff today as well.
And he also showed them how to find the elements that they are being exposed to that are adjusting for them, and then like the ones that are most topical. So that, this is where you go if we're working on this particular strand right now in our classroom work. Go here and you'll get similar items. So that was also helpful. It's a cleaner view for the student that a lot of our faculty and staff had discovered, and we were able to spread the news.
He also worked with us on the integration of EDM. Our math program is aligned with IXL, and how teachers can use it as gaining formative assessment data easily and quickly, and to have the students look at that data as well. So that was a nice aspect of today.
Sorry, what, EDM?
Everyday math, our math program. Sorry about that.
There are
What do you,
One of those Somers acronyms.
I gotta go back to my,
what do? You still use Big Ideas for the special class math in
Yes.
those classes? Does that also align then
Yes.
with IXL?
Yes. And then also today we had time for our Big Ideas K-2, our Big Ideas teachers spend some time together and start looking at the assessments, how things went last year, how they can adjust to meet the students' needs, with a little bit more of a fine-tuning.
We'll hand it over to the middle school,
Okay.
and then as we think about doing this, as the team spoke here a little bit, as we've talked in the last couple of meetings, that we have partnered with our PLC associates, and they're coming along side by side with our teachers K through 8 and working with our K through 8 literacy committee. And so one of the things that they're doing is they're looking at our instructional practices, they're looking certainly at our curriculum resources, and then the assessment, as the team was talking about here. So as our team goes through this, we're going to have those partners on board with us in the same pathway. So as they come in and look on board, so what are some of the strengths and opportunities you have in your classrooms and in your school district? that you want to make sure you hold on to and are in line with best practices? And are there some opportunities that are right next door for us to go ahead and take a chance at, to look at and to train more on? So those will be pieces that the K-8 literacy team will be looking at. Certainly one of those is just our assessment. As this team was talking about, the technology and the things that have come about just frankly in the last few years have leapfrogged far in advance to where I thought they would certainly be if you looked at educational technology pre and post COVID. So we're going to have that team take a look at as our assessment, kind of the most appropriate and most up to state that we can go ahead and get, and then looking at our instructional practices, and then that'll be really next year when they come on board working with us to help implement any changes that we'd be thinking about. Certainly make adjustments along the way, but making sure they're there for training as well as resources and things like that. So we're very much looking forward to the partnership with this group coming in and basically giving us just a fresh set of eyes on everything, and being a critical friend as we process through how do we ensure the best for our kids. So thanks, elementary, and we'll kind of kick it over to the middle school. So thank you.
Sure. So, good evening. You're going to hear a lot of similar things from me for the first few minutes. My apologies, but my elementary colleagues have been doing things so well that we at the 6 to 8 are jumping on board. So, there's a lot of K through 8 through lines, though, in our work, and I think it just lends to the importance of continuity for our students and just great educational practice, right? So, as we uniform our practice, literacy in particular, we're going to be working with the same consultants. They were in our building last week twice, visiting, getting to know us in and out of our classrooms. Here at the middle school level, they're focusing on that comprehension piece in the science of reading. And what does that look like in the content areas for kids grades 6 through 8, trying to help and support our team in uniform reading literacy strategies that students can access and leverage no matter what the content area of reading that they are tackling. So that's the area that we're going to be working on with them this year, and our team is super excited about it. The ladies were in the building last week. I toured them around. They got to see some of our great practice. We taught them all the wonders that is MYP and the instruction of MYP, and you guys were in our building last year, so you know just how thriving that is here, and we're very proud of our authorization and the work that our team has been doing. And this literacy work really is nothing separate from our work with MYP. It's a puzzle piece that's part of it, because in order to have students tackle the inquiry-based work that makes MYP thrive, you need strong readers, and you need them to be able to access, comprehend, and tackle difficult text. So this is just an extra skill in our students' toolbox to help them be successful in that area, and we're very excited about that. So this year at SMS, you're going to see our teachers continuing to revise, revisit, reflect on the 3 units that we've been honing over the past year, and then we'll be expanding that work through our work with our ATL skills, which are the approaches to learning. And what does it look like to be a learner in the MYP grades 6 through 8? And the big piece for us is that capstone project, which you were able to attend that night last year. I unfortunately missed it because I had a baby. But I heard it was amazing, and I saw some great pictures, and I'm so excited to see what it looks like in action. Today, our team of mentors was working with Meg O'Connor, who's our new community project liaison, preparing for advisory kickoff, which is tomorrow. So advisory is the time period where our 8th graders will be working on the community project embedded with their mentors during the day. And we're very excited to launch that work. And that happens tomorrow. So mark your calendars for May 2nd for the community project night, when our full 8th grade will be sharing their work, and we're very excited about it. Again, it's not going to be able to just live in this space. It'll probably be nebulous in and out and all over the building, and the faculty has been already brainstorming what's that going to look like and feel like for our students, and ways to celebrate all the great things that they're coming to the table with. If you have an 8th grader, students met with Ms. O'Connor last week during the WIN period, and she gave them the overview of what the community project is, how it's a capstone experience on their time here at SMS, and it's a project that they get to do. It's something great for them to learn, skills to be good learners, but also to be good community advocates. Where is an area, either in their local community or world community, that they'd like to learn about, research, and perhaps take action on. So we're excited to see where their minds take them. And, our WIN period. That's like my favorite place to talk about. And I'm sure I've made you guys bored with my constant thriving on our WIN period over the past few years, but our faculty and staff has done tremendous work in our WIN period. And for us at the middle school level, it looks a little different than our colleagues at the elementary level because we are able to encourage student voice and choice in WIN, which I think is so exciting, very developmentally appropriate for where they are. Students choose their classes using Enriching Students, which is a tech platform, and their classes that they take during WIN change every single week. Students get to self-select, but they are also selected using that data. So we're using those same multiple data points to assess our students, IXL, STAR, and DIBELS here at the middle school, and our teachers are able to kind of create more targeted small groups of learners when needed, and then students are able to also engage in exciting enrichment opportunities. If you were interested in learning German with Mr. Dell, or we had rockets, or there's something, I walked in somewhere last week, it was so good, and it was right at the tip of my head, I wanted to tell you about it. All right, it'll come back. But anyways, there is so much wonderful stuff going on during our WIN period, and I hope that our faculty and staff is able to shine and thrive in that area, and you're able to see some of the great things that our kids are doing. So those are the big things going on at the middle school.
Great.
Thanks.
Can I come see the Rockets?
You can come see the Rockets.
Everyone has to learn to speak German.
No, I'm good. You talked about the how the kids self-select and get selected. Can you go into a little bit more detail how that works as a kid?
Sure. So if you're a kid, you log into your Enriching Students, which is a program that they can access through Clever. Parents can also see what their students choose by checking in on their Enriching Students. They can access it through Clever. Students make their choices for the week on Mondays when they get to their home base WIN. So they go to the same place every Monday. And during that time, they schedule the rest of their classes for the week, and then we're working on IXL. This year, we're using that space as a time for us to explore IXL ELA and getting kids to really dive in on those skills of reading and hone and push our reading skills. Then they'll pick their classes for the rest of the week. So let's say I log in on my Enriching Students. Maybe I need to have my essay edited. I'm going to go see Miss Belger. I'm going to make sure I choose her class. But I don't have any other major pressing things going on. I'm going to sign up for public speaking with Mr. Bayer and ballroom dance. That's totally making that up with Miss Benedetto, so that I can, I don't know. Maybe it's opposite.
I get public speaking, you get ballroom dance.
Maybe it's opposite. Maybe it's opposite.
I'm just
But
editing some
anyways, obviously, I just want to dance with Meg Benedetto. But really, so the students get to choose and select their classes, right? So part of that work, right, notice I picked multiple enrichments. Part of the work of the home-based teacher is to help support student selections. So if I made those selections, right, and you were my home-based teacher, you might come up to me and say, hey, Jen, I know you signed up to get your essay edited. Are there any other things going on in your grade level team that you might want to check in on? Because I see you took multiple enrichments. Let's be mindful of how we schedule our time. Really focusing on that ATL skill of self-management, right? Learning how to prioritize our needs, looking out at our calendar for the week ahead, and helping kids make choices that are good for them. And then also helping them explore new things, connect with new people is also a part of that WIN period. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does.
And there's times where teachers can also kind of lock the period for the student as well, correct?
Yes, yeah. So another scenario is you may log into your ES and you see, oh, Mr. Bayer picked me to make up math questions because I had some missing math skills, and he wants to work on those skills with me. He's already picked me for Thursday, so I've been drafted, if you will. And then I make sure that I go there because that's been chosen for me, and then I get to choose the other things that are left.
And are you guys still doing content literacy on Tuesdays, or is that still part of the rotation,
So content literacy isn't part of our rotation. And through reflection, the team wanted to really hone in on what does that look like, tier 1, actually embedded into the classroom. So that's some of the work that we're going to be doing with our consultants. And then using the IXL tool in Monday's home base was the next space that we're going to be using that to kind of really dive into the skills. So the short answer is no. And that's because we piloted it last year. We didn't feel like it made the progress we wanted. Instead, we're going to try this avenue this year.
Mark?
So I think there are a lot of through lines, definitely from 6 through 12 as we embark on our first year of implementing units in MYP. So we've been spending the last 2 years looking at the MYP program and creating that continuum from 6 through 10, expanding who's involved in that, where the diploma program only involves 11th and 12th graders, and then thereby only really impacting those teachers who teach 11th and 12th grade courses. This will be a school-wide initiative. So one of the focuses at the high school has really been on increasing students, the number of students who have the ability to take advanced level courses, designated as either AP or IB. We're in the 7th year of our IB program, and in that we have, by introducing IB back in 17-18, we have increased the number of students who graduate at the end of their 12th grade year having taken at least one of those designated as college-ready, college-level AP or IB classes. And so while, so one might ask, so speaking specifically about IB, wow, that's a really expensive program for only a certain number of students who take the full diploma program. That's only one aspect of it, and I think that's a misnomer. I think people don't fully understand that we have a significant number of students in 11th and 12th grade who do take other classes as what are called candidate students. And so creating access for more and more students to be able to take the highest level courses and to challenge themselves while also having the appropriate supports that they need has been huge for us. And then two things that go along with that, sorry if this is going in and out, is we are in our 5th year, I should have looked this up beforehand, of implementing embedded honors, which gives students the opportunity to challenge themselves in the moment. Traditionally, Somers High School, along with many other schools that have honors level courses, kids are making the decision of whether I am capable of going into an honors level course, typically in January and February of the year prior. Oftentimes, there's a lot of research that says that shows us that kids will kind of sell themselves short and not think that they're capable of handling an honors level course, or maybe that's not my subject. And embedded honors has created greater access points for students to be able to do that work. And then we are in the 2nd year of piloting our evidence-based grading, which is really looking at giving kids the tools. So we talked about metacognition, self-awareness, and self-management. Evidence-based grading is a way for kids to really be at the center of how they are assessed in their courses. So they know what are the skills I need to work on in order to demonstrate proficiency and to really excel in this. So those two things kind of work hand in hand to give kids the knowledge and the skills to be able to identify what am I working on and how well am I doing on this, so that I can then make those decisions in 11th and 12th grade. I can make those decisions in 9th and 10th grade to do the honors level work, and I can also make those decisions in 11th and 12th grade to take more advanced level courses. So we're giving kids greater access and the skills to actually assess whether they are ready to do that work. I just wanted to reiterate, I think when we started the journey down IB back in, so we started probably in 15, 16, I don't remember the exact map, when we started taking a look at, as Ray talked about, our own mission statement, vision and values, and we started to take a look at other schools, and then we looked at a lot of the work around ATL, the approaches to teaching and the approaches to learning. What rang very clear for all of us at the high school, and you now have heard it at all 4 buildings, is that much of that work codifies what we have already been doing as a school district. And so by codifying it and making it a K through 12 continuum, what it means is you also have all of our professionals speaking the same language. And where we see evidence of that right now is that as our kids are coming up, so we created a course this year called Tusker 101. It's a way of giving freshmen teaching into some of the skills that sometimes you assume students come into high school having already. But the goal of that also is to prepare students for the personal project in 10th grade. So in 10th grade, they'll take Tusker 102. And in that, we've already seen kids coming up from 8th grade being able to talk about the learner profile and having the language of IB down pat, which is amazing to see. 9th graders coming in and knowing that that is now continuing, that it's not like, well, they've learned it in this class, but it's not used again until, maybe later on. Now they're seeing it straight through. And I think that's a powerful thing to have, a common language, a common way of being, and that our students then start to live that. And I think that's awesome. So that's our real goal is really just creating that greater access points, moving away from that traditional model where a student sees themselves as an honor student or not an honor student, now they have the ability to challenge themselves whenever and wherever they feel comfortable doing so. And with the evidence of the evidence-based grading and the conversations with their teachers that are constantly involved in that reflective process, we're creating, I think, more students who are tuned into their own learning and their own skill set.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions secondary or anything, or elementary?
The embedded honors model, that's new in mathematics now?
It's new what?
I mean, explore embedded honors model in mathematics. I thought we had that already.
It's a continuation, so we're continuing to explore. Math is very leveled, traditionally, and in many schools, many high schools. It's more sequential, and there's a little bit more nuance as to how to create an embedded honors. We did it last year in chemistry, and have used that as a good kind of test case, because chemistry is similar. But it's a little bit different than English and social studies, where they are skill-based, and you can modify those skills at the assessment level to allow students to challenge themselves. Math is a little bit different because it is a little bit more content-heavy, and so how do you differentiate the content from the skills?
That's a good question. How do you evaluate that then when in the embedded honors classes? And I think it's pretty clear how the advantage is to the students who are a little unsure if they want to stretch, and then they see where they can, and that's fantastic. But then you have the other part of that spectrum of the students who knew going in that they want to be part of the honors part of it. How do you evaluate that and are sure that they're getting the extra rigor that they might have been hoping for going in?
So that rigor is still there, that as if they were in a full, traditional honors level course. The work that they're doing, the assessments that they're choosing to do, are tiered to meet their level of readiness. We are going through a evaluation right now of the embedded honors program. That is our Tri-States is looking at embedded honors also to give us some more evidence as to where it's working well and what things might need to be tweaked. But ultimately, what it's doing is creating greater access points for students along the way that traditionally many students would say, I'm not an honor student. It's also changing the culture of the way in which we view all of our classes, that, there's lots of research that shows that, and I never get it right, I just have to think about it, that homogeneously grouping students actually does more damage to students, and that heterogeneously grouping them actually raises the bar for all students. And so letting kids know what we expect of them and then helping them to meet those expectations gets more students to those higher levels than a traditional program. But we are looking at that and looking at the evidence and working with focus groups of teachers and students to really do a thorough evaluation of the program.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. Can I ask one quick question? Well, not really quick, but I give a brief answer to something that will probably, as we talk about IB, we'll get more of a description. But when you talked about how the 8th graders coming up this year, they had the IB language down pat, and how important that is and how powerful it is to have that common way of being and that common language. What's some way that you see that then benefiting their academic outcomes? Like, how does that then lend to their academic success and, in high school and beyond?
So I don't think it's hard to isolate that and say there's a direct impact on their academic achievement, right? When I look at a lot of the movement we're making in the district and making students more aware of their own skills and their own strengths and areas of growth, that's what we're doing in the EBG, the evidence-based grading. By giving kids those tools and giving them a language to use to identify what I'm working on and how I'm demonstrating this particular skill or this particular characteristic, by kids being aware of that, I think you are automatically raising their level of, or their ability to find success academically. So, it's the idea of rooting everything in metacognition, right? I know what I know. I know how I know what I know. And I know what I need to work on to get better at something. That automatically is going to raise their level of academic achievement, rather than, well, I got an 85 on a test, but I have no idea, and as a very traditional math teacher, I'd have kids all the time who would come into extra help, and I say, well, what do you want to work on? I don't know. Well, you're here for extra help. Like, what do you need to work on? Right? We're giving kids the language and the tools to be able to identify what it is I want to work on to become better at, and then know what they want to become better at, right? So giving those targets and naming them as well, it's all part of the same. And that's when I said before, when we looked at the ATL skills, that's what we have been working on as a district for years, is giving, making sure that every kids know what the targets are, and know at the end of it, have I reached those targets or not? At the end of every lesson, end of every unit, and hopefully at the end of each course. When students apply to college and they're picking a major, we want them to be able to know, I'm going to go into something that is going to really speak to not only my passion, but also my skill set, right? And we're teaching kids that along the way. That was not a short answer, I apologize.
No, but that was great, because I think that's a question that does come up a lot when we're talking about IB, is what is it, a curriculum? What does it mean if you're saying these students have these things in common? And so that's a great way of explaining. It's the soft skills of education. I think we've talked about that before. And so, that it's how to be a student.
And teaching
know
into
themselves
them
and
in
a good
meaningful
student.
ways where kids then internalize them is so powerful, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah. I was going to jump in before and say it's about being very honest and explicit with our students, even as 10 and 11-year-olds, of what it is we're teaching them and why it is we're teaching it to them, right? And here's the skill we're working on. You're going to use this skill now in this, but you may use it someday as an adult when you're out in the workforce, right? We were talking about it today when we were planning for our community project. A lot of our work in community project, they're not getting a grade for a community project, right? So then that's the first thing. You're not getting a grade. This is purely something that's a capstone of an understanding of your experience here in middle school, and we're going to celebrate you and we're going to lift you up. But many of these skills that they're learning through doing this work are skills that many of us use in work, right? How to interpersonally connect, how to divide up our work when we're working in a collaborative team, how to lean on the skill sets and strengths of our colleagues. I like to public speak. It's something that makes me happy, but my peers may not, and it might be an area that they don't want to. So learning how to navigate those things are not necessarily things that come up in like a standard curriculum, but they're important skills that we want our students, when they leave our district, to feel armed and ready to tackle when they go on to college and career success afterward.
And I think more traditionally, the belief is kids will get those skills and then be able to apply them. But that's not always true, right? They don't always get it, or if they get it, they don't know they have it, right? And so the idea of teaching into it, speaking to it, making it part of the language that we use, gives them that ability to then transfer it in meaningful ways to their work, to their life, to whatever it is that they're doing. Could be a hobby. Persistence is a great thing, right? Can I pick up something that I want to learn and stick with it until the very end? That's something that, yes, work is important, and we want to teach kids to be career ready, but we also want them to be, just constructive, healthy citizens where they know what they're passionate about and can go and actually explore something and learn about it.
That's great. Thank you. That clarified a lot. It gives me good ways to be able to speak about it too. Thanks.
Jen, I don't know if you would speak to it or not, or Mark, but one of the things that seems with the children is that reflective part. I mean, that's a big game changer from what I'm seeing from the kids. I don't know if you either talk about that a little bit or maybe experience it when you see it in the classrooms when kids are using that. I think there's some journaling that kids are doing and stuff. So
Yep, there's a lot of self-reflection
Yeah.
that's embedded in the MYP and the IB way of thinking, way of being, and helping kids kind of have that moment of pause of, here's what went well, here's what I tried that didn't go so well, but here's what I'm going to do next time. Right, and here's my personal area that I'd like to focus on moving forward, and also just for us as educators, pausing at the end of a unit. Here's what went really well. Here's where kids thrive. Here's what we're going to reflect and redesign for the next go about, and just really thinking about the way that kids learn, process, and that feedback cycle, right? What's the feedback that they're getting all along the way towards their goals? And knowing that even when you do make a misstep, you can pick yourself back up and move forward and find success the next turnaround.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, I think it's important to recognize that in the evidence-based grading, I'm trying not to use the acronyms. In evidence-based grading, that's built in that every student is having a teacher conference at least 4 times a year, oftentimes more than that, at the end of different learning events, to know where am I on these proficiency scales and these skills that are stated. They're stated at the beginning of the unit, they're assessed throughout the unit, and then assessed at the end of the unit. And so having those conversations with kids so that they know and they can offer their own input also, which is like giving kids a voice around how they're being assessed is tremendously powerful for kids.
Nick, you had something?
Great. Yeah, I was just going to ask, can you drip in life skills like cleaning up the room, not leaving dishes in the sink, things like that would be great.
There's only so many hours
Right,
in a
we'll
day.
do our best.
I'll give you some
I think that goes under
evidence-based
being
grading on that.
balanced. Being balanced.
Yeah.
Definitely going to try the reflection thing with them on that, though. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
So,
Yes, sir.
great. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll go on to board action and the business consent agenda. Be resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby approves the attached business agenda.
So moved?
Second?
Chris, anything you want to bring up on that, or no? Not much there?
For the wastewater treatment plant, and it's totally funded by the DEP.
Perfect. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? All right, next one's on the attendance of a conference. Let be resolved, the Board of Education of the Somer Central School District hereby approves the request for Board of Education trustee Amanda and Heidi to attend the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association 2023 roundtables on October 12th at a cost of $35 a person.
So moved.
Second?
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you
Abstained?
both for participating in that.
We'll turnkey what we learn.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing from a lot of different districts.
Great. Now we come to the public comment section. Anybody for public comment? All right. I'm not gonna read it. All right, board member comments.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close out.
Yeah?
Yep. So just, I want to thank the principal team for coming today. Again, I think that hopefully the connected tissue you can see just continue to get stronger and stronger between the 4 schools. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and purpose. And again, I would say that the reason we're at today is because of the teacher leadership, building leadership, learning office team. The reality is that what they talked about here today is a unique experience. We have already started getting schools to come and visit us and kind of having conversations about how we best support students. And so the tight connections with our district's mission statement about engaging, kind of all learners at that personal level, you heard it tonight. That's really in the cornerstone part about the International Baccalaureate program, is all learners, engaging them and helping them find success. I know one of the things in the high school we didn't get a chance to talk about too much, but not necessarily identified as win proper, but there are resources in there to support students. Writing centers in place there. They have academic support center over there for different content areas, for different teacher specialists are coming in. So when a student may need support, do we have the supports there to help them? We do. And that's a piece, again, I would say all of our 4 schools have put that in place, so the expectation of all learners can find success. And as Mark mentioned before, that the opportunity where kids get to set a sense that they belong in this space, and hey, look, I can do this thing. It's amazing what can start to happen. And we're starting to see that more. So, well, if I could do that, I think I can do this. And what we can help you. So again, I would commend our teacher leaders and our administrative team for getting this going forward over the multiple years that we've been doing it. So last piece I had was just to want to let the board know that we have just received approval from the state for our athletic facilities projects. And so we put that back in March. We just got the approval for it just recently. So we hope to have the bids out here shortly, get the cost proposals back for that project, and know right around Thanksgiving time how deep we can go into the overall scope of that project. We continue to see, unfortunately, escalating costs on certainly some of the construction costs. We should be able to make a really, really big dent in it. We'll just see how far we can get with that. As the board may recall, we use $7 out of the $10 million in our savings account. Available for that, we have about $1.2 million in there, so we have the ability to get after whatever we have remaining after that time, but we should be able to get a good sense on this coming November. The latest December, we'll have a good idea where we're looking at in that regard and stuff. So, and then again, I would say that I know it's a workshop session, but I appreciate the board doing this. We have just as a much more fluid conversation. We do have a site visit coming up next week, as Linda said, over at SIS. And then as Mark mentioned, later in the spring, we'll have another visit there for IB-specific conversation there, and really the literacy program specific at SIS. So thank you to all those board members who were able to kind of join on the kind of field trip and things. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you very much. Let it be resolved, this special workshop meeting of the Board of Education be adjourned.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.